Welcome back to my box fan build. In this video I do some rust repair, insulate part of the cab, do some things to combat the heat this summer, and then I hack the dash wiring and try to install an aftermarket stereo, and then learn the hard way that you need an interface. Quick tip for you guys: if you buy a van, even if it's a Chevy or a Ford or anything, make sure you pop the trim off of this stepwell. Particularly the driver's side, because tons of dirt gets stuck under there and it can create rust. I got lucky. I wire brushed and put rust converter on mine, but if you don't address this at some point, then you'll get rust, like real rust, all the way through. The passenger side naturally is never as bad because it doesn't get used nearly as much. But a ton of dirt was in here too, so just pop the trim off and brush them, wire brush it, shop vac it, and then if you do have any rust, like there's some there, just treat it, wire brush it, put some sort of, at least spray paint it, and I think a lot of this too is that crappy GM paint just coming off, Alright, I sprayed some rust converter on this and then let it dry pretty much all day while I was working on other parts of the van. All that black stuff is basically what the rust converter does, just turns it into that black, supposedly paintable surface. Same thing I did with the frame. And I'm just gonna hit it with this because that's all I got, but good enough. Alright, good as new. I'm gonna have to do the door separately because I still need to wire wheel that, and then I do need to grind these cab corners all the way down to the metal, and maybe get a little filler in there and do all that. So that'll be another day, but for now this is pretty good. Alright, so these are gonna have to come right back off when I carpet the cab, but I'm actually filming this segment of the video like 3 weeks in advance because I'm just making the best use of my precious time here at the shop. So I'm gonna put these back on. I drill brushed them and cleaned them up real good, and then kind of put some protectant on them. And then these clips here, one of them broke, and a lot of them, the rubber is just jacked. And I'm considering doing something that I've never done before with any vehicle, and actually order new clips. It's crazy. It's like I love this van or something. But for now I just WD-40'd them real good, and they're kind of a pain in the butt to get off of, like get out of the van, but they do need to go on the plastic before they can go in the van. So, and all these things say LH or RH on them, so you know which side of the van they go on. Even the metal itself has a left and a right stamped into it. I figured out just now you got to put the rubber on first, so I'm going to clean this up. This is just Windex. That's all I got at the moment. These rubber door seals can shrink. The driver's side has a little bit. There's kind of a gap at the bottom. You can replace these. They're not cheap though. So I'm not planning on doing that, but if yours are like all ripped up and shredded, you can buy these. They have them on Rock Auto. Just Google it, There's companies, steel rubber products and stuff. You can get weather strip for like any vehicle. And I think it's safe to assume that the door seals are the same for like every Chevy Express van made from, you know, at least like 2003 to present. Possibly even 96 to present. But, and now I'm gonna do something real crazy. I have tire foam, and I'm just gonna put a light coat of it on here because it's a rubber protectant. So somebody in the comments will have something to say about this right here. But and then when you go to put it together, you see there's a little piece, they kind of interlock like that. All the clips lined up, and there. Looks good. Yeah, my rubber here is a little torn and it's kind of shrunk. Torn rubber is never a good thing, you know. Happy accidents. All right, that's fixed. Okay, so it's May 31st as I'm filming this clip, and today it's 87, tomorrow's 89, and Monday is 90. And then there's a thunderstorm and it drops back to the 70s for the rest of the week. But I need to insulate at least the top of this cab. Where I'm currently having to park during the week until my job situation improves, I have like no protection from the sun pretty much after noon every day. So I gotta like do something to cool the van down a little bit. It does stay pretty good in the van, but there's a ton of heat in the cab, and I put Reflectix up, but this cab roof just being bare metal, you know, isn't ideal. So I'm gonna take this stuff that I bought. It's called Silas Liner, and it's just a foam, like a foam rubber mat with adhesive on it. And I'm gonna insulate this just bare metal portion here, and then I have some spray foam I'm gonna be putting in the like crevices around the cab. So and there's other brands of this stuff. This is just what I bought on Amazon. I wanted to try it. And I think there's thicker versions of this too. I'm not sure exactly what the thickness is of this, like in millimeters, but it's basically, it's almost like a foam sleeping pad, like you'd take camping with you, you know? So I'm just gonna put it up here and kind of try to cut it to fit. I gotta be mindful of being able to reinstall my headliner too. So I can't like put too much insulation on the ceiling, but I'd like to get a decent amount anyway. Either way, this will help, you know. And what's nice is it has this like little guide for cutting. It's real easy to cut too. And you just peel and stick. I'm gonna try to stick it as straight as I can. Wish me luck there. mean, you won't see it, but to make it easier to cut the next piece, like straight would be good. And I'm hoping that it stays stuck, you know, like I would assume, because it's like made for this purpose, but with heat, you know, tons of heat, adhesives tend to let go naturally. I'm starting back here because it's like straighter. The front of the cab, of course, is curved, but the back isn't. This should also help with sound, because with this being bare metal, when it rains, it sounds like a drum. It's pretty loud. And I guess I'll find out like Tuesday when it thunderstorms if this helps at all. It's not really a sound deadener, it's more of just a thermal barrier. Because, you know, they make sound deadener stuff too, but that's not really my priority, if you know what I mean. Now this is weird, but to save on material, because I'd have to cut a significant amount of the width off up here, I think I'm going to do it in pieces. Going like this way. It won't look as nice, but again, there's going to be a headliner and you won't even see that. But by doing it this way, I'm going to save on material significantly. And really, I can just kind of smush it in there. I don't need to cut it to contour. Yeah, this stuff's real easy to work with. I'm kind of enjoying it. Wow, that slides way up in there. There's no way I'm getting that all the way up there with the backer peeled off. So we'll cut it right here, which is that line. I'm actually considering spending the night at the shop again. But tonight's low is like 59, which is perfect. I sleep so good when it's cold. Got one tiny little piece left, and I know that you cannot see it at that camera angle, so I'll show you when I'm done. Alright, so looking at this headliner, there's nothing preventing me from filling those channels around the edge of the roof with foam board. There's nothing on the sides, there's nothing going into any of it. I just have to make sure that I don't block these holes where the visor attaches, and then in the back here there's 3 holes for clips that hold the whole headliner on. So I feel comfortable with filling pretty much everything I can with spray foam. I recently started using this instead of the great stuff. I like it a lot more. It doesn't have that you stepped in chewing gum on a hot day kind of effect. And it's more of a white color. So I have to keep these holes clear, and I believe these ones. So I am going to go ahead and, like on the sides here, I'm going to fill these areas. Alright, I trimmed all the foam. I just used a knife. And I'm going to go ahead and temporarily reinstall my headliner. I know that sounds silly, but like I said, I'm filming this way out of order. But this should help, and I just ordered some tint for my windows. Headliner's back up. I went ahead and vacuum brushed it. And you can see why I'm going to replace the fabric on it. And it was easy to install. You just got to reset these clips back here. A lot of automotive clips aren't meant to be reused, but you just have to reset them. If you just look at them, you'll figure out what I'm talking about. Something I didn't notice when I was cutting out the box on this van is the shape of the headliner. I would have maybe cut my box out to match that contour, but it's no big deal. I can modify the shape of the headliner or just put some sort of cap on the back of it and it'll look fine. So I'm not really too worried about it, but just something, you know, I didn't really think of at the time. But yeah, that's done. So one more thing I'm going to do today. For the next at least month, I have to park at my mom's house during the work week, and there's no protection from the sun. There's no shade. Pretty much afternoon. I have full west exposure, and just to combat the heat, I have a portable AC unit, which is just temporary, because right now I live in Omaha. I'm at like 1,100 foot elevation, if that. So I'm going to have a portable AC, and what I'm going to do here is make a filler piece that's the size of the window opening, and I just happen to have like almost the perfect piece of this handy panel. So I'm going to cut it out to pretty much the shape of the window, and then drill a hole in it to mount this, which is just like a part of the portable AC, so I can put the like exhaust duct for it out the driver's side window. And then I'll have that AC kind of sitting right in the middle of the cab, blowing in towards the living area of the van. put it kind of like right there, I think. Yeah, about right there or so. And what I'm thinking is on the inside, I'll do some reflectix. Just because I have some, I wouldn't go buy any for this. Reflectix is not cheap. Perfect. I'll just use carpet tape, stick it on here with. I'll probably have to trim the edges like at least a ½ inch in, so it still sits in the opening, but we'll try to get away without. I'm gonna forget that I put that razor knife there. Actually, no, because I'm gonna use it right away. So the next logical step for this cab would be to insulate the floor and do carpet. I did find the exact perfect carpet pad. It has a heat shield on one side, like a foil layer, a barrier. It's a thick sort of wool type of automotive carpet pad. It's made for that purpose, and it's just the right size. And it's only 35 bucks on Amazon. But you pay 15 bucks for shipping. And what I figured out is the seller of it happens to be just an hour away from where I live. And the place is actually really cool. It's called Speedway Motors, and they have a museum there with a bunch of old hot rods and cool automotive stuff. So I decided to actually make an adventure out of it and a video. So maybe next week or something I'll be going down there to get my carpet pad. But I think this cab thing here, finishing the cab, is going to be like a 2-part video. And I think the last thing I'll do today is install a stereo in here, because I tried to install this stereo that I bought a week ago to see if it works, but before the return window was up, and I ended up needing to buy a dash kit. So that ship has sailed, but now I got all the stuff I need to install this thing, and that's what I'm gonna do now. I'll show you kind of how the dash comes apart. I'm gonna have to take this dash apart a couple times because I'm gonna be upgrading all the stuff right here, all the switches and power outlets and stuff. But I have quite a bit of stuff for this cab. So I do have 20% ceramic window film, which I will show you how to install. I've done it before. I'm not very good at it, but it won't be that bad. I've got rain guards for the outsides of the windows, you know, the little visor things. And I've got these power outlets that I showed you earlier. I've got my alarm system. I've got a phone mount. I've got all kinds of stuff for the cab. But the stereo, it's car, you know, who knows? It'll either be good or it won't. But it's a double din touchscreen, and you know, the reviews said it's surprisingly halfway decent. And what I did is I put these brackets on it, and they were just too narrow. So I got on Scosche. I got on their website and looked up 2011 GMC Savannah and figured out the dash kit that I would need, which is a GM 1598 AB. And then for the antenna adapter, you need a CRAB, C-R-A-B. Now, there is a wiring harness listed on Scosche's website on the data sheet for this van, but I could not find it for sale anywhere. And I'm just basically going to just hardwire it in and snip the old factory plug off, which isn't ideal. You never really want to do that to a vehicle, but you know, I'm never putting that factory stereo back in, so. The plug that comes out of the van actually looks very similar to a standard plug that you would find on the back of an aftermarket radio. But this stereo it's got its own thing going on. So there's like two plugs actually. And if you've ever wired up an aftermarket stereo, then you pretty much know your colors by now. But black is ground, yellow is constant power, red is switched power, I believe orange is dimmer, and blue is power antenna. And then over here you have your speaker colors. You have white, gray, purple, and green, which is front left, front right, rear left, rear right. So this stereo also has a backup camera. And I'd love to install that, but I don't know if I will, because I already have a rear camera that's going to be part of the security system. And what I can do is, because I'm going to have my Surface Pro mounted up on the dash, I can actually just remote desktop to my camera server and do it that way. I put one of these on my Buick just because the stereo came with it, and I mean, totally unnecessary for a Buick, but basically what you do is you wire the power for this thing up to your reverse tail light, and that's what turns the camera on when you put the vehicle in reverse. And then the stereo, once it sees that the camera has power, it automatically goes to your camera, backup camera screen. Another thing I did here is these have a little microphone in them, but it's a tiny little hole, and it's terrible. And that's for hands-free calling. You know, if people call you, you can. So I got just an external mic. I'm gonna probably run it up the A-pillar trim. And I put the same microphone in my Buick and my Grand Prix, and it works extremely good. It's a very good microphone, and it has a foam cover on it, which a lot of these little hands-free calling microphones don't. So first thing I'll do is tear the dash apart, or just pop the cover off. I'll show you that. It's not very easy to do because there's no tilt steering wheel on this, so it's quite the, you gotta wrestle it out of there, you know. Okay, so basically you pop this whole cover off. This is my temp sensor. And then there's wire connectors for these power outlets. This is the tow haul button. And then over here you've got your dome light, headlight switch, and your information center. So as you pop it off with your hands, you just undo these connections as you go. And then another thing you really got to do is you got to put the key in and get the shift lever out of the way. It's kind of difficult and it's not very graceful to do it, but this bottom trim piece kind of snaps into the top one, so you gotta, I mean, you should remove this too, which is just I believe that's a 10mm. There's two 10mm down here to remove this panel. Probably helpful to do that first, actually. I was able to flex it out of the way over here because one of the bolts is missing. It was like that, but there we go. Now this guy, so we've got connector back here. There we go. Connector here. Go. This is the tow haul button. Yeah, it's all off. And then over here we got headlight dimmer switch. And then up here, DIC controls. Okay, everything's unhooked. Yeah, I don't know how the hell they expect you to do this without a tilt wheel. Alright, I think I just lost a clip. I something hit the ground. Okay. Okay, now these, I believe, are 7mm. There's 4 of them. One interesting thing I noticed in here is between the stereo and right here, kind of over where that passenger side power plug was, there's a old like mini USB running between the two. So I don't know if the some of these vans had a different like some sort of module that hooks up to the stereo and goes to the passenger side for some reason. Maybe a CD player or something, I don't know. Here's your antenna, and here's the stereo plug. So the van only has 2 speakers. It's, you know, cutaway van. So what I need to do is just look at my Haynes manual that I've got, find the wiring diagram for this, and then figure out exactly which wires do what. And since I will be snipping the wires, I either need to do them one at a time or find the fuse for the stereo and pull that. Otherwise, if you go, you're gonna blow a fuse. Alright, so in your Haynes manual, you go to the index, you know, alphabetical, and you go to W, wiring diagrams, general information, 12-18. You go to 12, 18. Heating and air, radio, 96 to 02. 2003 and later radio, typical. There we go. Okay. Red, white, hot at all times. Blue is left front door, green and orange. So light blue, dark blue, left front door. Green and orange, right front door. We don't have rears. Black, white is ground. There's OnStar and data link. That's not very inclusive. So now we at least got a start on how to figure it out. There is definitely going to be a different wire for switched versus hot at all times, because there's a constant power, so your stereo has its clock feature. Then there's switched power. When you turn the ignition on, it'll turn on. And these vans are very simple, at least mine is. There's no options at all. There's no power windows, locks, OnStar, any of that. And there's only 2 speakers. So this is really going to be like one of the easiest wiring a stereo jobs I've ever done. Special shout out to Don Rockin' Ranch. In this box right here, I have a complete factory service manual for a 2015 Express Savannah. He gifted me that because he used to have a, that year of Chevy Express van. That's a little heavy for me to carry with me on the road, but it's a very valuable resource to have. These Haynes manuals are for the DIY kind of guy. This manual in here, these books, there's like 4 or 5 books in this box. I could rebuild my transmission if I wanted to. It's got like every piece of information you'd ever need for one of these vans. So thanks, Don. All right, so I know this is a damn mess, but I've been doing a ton of work to the van lately, and I'm really just running out of space here at the shop. But first thing I'm gonna do is install the stereo in the dash, like fit it in there, make sure it's gonna fit. Now, if you look at the factory stereo, the top is wider than the bottom. And if you look at the dash kit, it's the same way. So you know that the wider portion goes on the top. Unfortunately, I have to remove the trim ring that came with the stereo and use this one, which just doesn't fit as perfect on the stereo. It's still gonna look fine, but it's not a super great fit. But you just take this and then you put these side rails on it. All right, dash kit installed. I used the screws that came with the stereo and the sides, and then I screwed the side pieces of the dash kit to the front bezel. Now we're just gonna kind of stick it in here, make sure the screw holes line up somehow. Yep, seems right. That should work. Actually, it goes up there like that. Yeah, that'll do. Then you put your factory GM screws in here. If the stereo seems to be somewhat flush with the climate control, then it should work. And yeah, I like that. So this dash kit comes with a bottom filler piece, so you can do a single DIN stereo. That's what I did in my Buick. You can get like up to like a 10-inch, 10.9-inch or so touchscreen. But the reason I went with just the regular small screen that fits inside the actual stereo opening for a double DIN on this is because if you had a big screen here, you would block your climate control. So now we gotta basically dissect this wiring harness, refer to the Haynes manual for wire coloring. I'm gonna cut this insulation or this tape back and then kind of go from there. So now we've got these nice sticky wires to mess with here. So This is front left speaker. This is front right speaker, I believe. This is main power. And we've got green and yellow. And those are way over here. There has to be a switched power, I would assume. It's kind of the way things work. Data link connector. Got green and yellow. So with the aftermarket stereo, red is your switched power and yellow is your constant. And the way this van is, you just have one power. So I guess we're gonna have to just hook these together. That's my assumption. We don't have power antenna. Orange is dimmer, so that could be what these are. Over here, I believe gray and white. This is front left, front right. All right, with the power of a forum, we've got, that's the connector. 7 and 13 are the two wires that I'm unsure of. Over here, 7 yellow, LED backlight dimming control. So that's what we hook our dimmer to. 13 green, low speed GM LAN serial data. Red white, battery positive. Black white, main radio ground. So there is no switched power on this. It's not going to work right. So if this red white is switched power, then I'm going to hook a constant power to the yellow for the aftermarket stereo, and then just hook this one to the switched power. And what I'm about to do now is grab my meter and turn the key on and check for voltage with and without the key on, and that'll tell me if I need to run basically a constant power to the stereo. Alright, I've got my old meter here. I left my tools in my Buick. I've had this thing for like 15 plus years. It's an old UEI 420. Now by turning the key on with the dash stuff unhooked, I might trigger a check engine light, which I'll have to clear at some point. We'll see. I've got a OBD, so we should have power. I'm just gonna try to back probe it. There's ground. Here's power. Okay, now with the key off, we still have power. So now what I'm gonna test is this green wire, which supposedly, according to that forum, just says it's some sort of data signal. Like I said, there is a harness for this van, but I couldn't find it. Like, it wasn't on Scotia's website for sale, and it wasn't on Amazon for sale, so otherwise I would have just bought that and it would have, you know, told me exactly what wire does what, but we'll just figure it out on our own. I pretty much know what everything does except this little green wire. There has to be a switched power, otherwise the stereo would never know when to turn on or off. You can't just turn your stereo on with the van off, otherwise you would drain your battery by mistake. Alright, I'm just gonna go ahead and snip this off. Strip it. And then we're gonna check for power. So okay, that is not switched power because that's only giving me 2 volts, 1.8 volts. So that tells me that is indeed some sort of signal wire for something. Kind of silly. This guy should be dimmer. So this should, I don't have the switch hooked up for the dash lights, but in theory should have like 12 volts key on. Yeah. So that is dimmer. We're gonna wire this red one to the yellow of the aftermarket stereo. That's constant power. This red wire for my new stereo needs to be switched power. So I gotta find something that only turns on when you turn the ignition on, which I suppose that dimmer does do that, but what we got here? That's like passenger airbag or something. No? It's yellow like an airbag connector. That's airbag connector right there. And that's just 2 wires. So this might have something to do with something. Why don't we use our meter some more? So here we've got yellow, pink, tans, black. Black's probably ground. Okay. Let's get up in here for black wire. Probably gonna frickin' set my airbag off by probing this by mistake. I think there'd be a warning on it somewhere, but okay, that's got switched power. And then key off, it goes down to, takes a lifetime to drain. So there must be a capacitor on that. It's odd. I just had like an aha moment. This is the switch for disabling the passenger airbag. So if you had a passenger airbag, you'd have a switch here where you stick a little, like you put your key in it to turn that off with. That's what this is. We're not gonna get power off of that, I decided. So we just need to find a switched power source. Because yeah, I don't want to have to manually turn the stereo off, worry about it draining my battery. So, and that might be why there were no I could not get the harness for this. Yeah, constantly got power whether the key is on or off. So that's not gonna do us any good as far as, and I'm pretty sure the power plugs, well, oh no, ground is down here. That was the wrong this probably has power all the time. Yep, power plugs always have power. So yeah, we're gonna have to find us a source of switched power. Wait, this one does not. Hello. Am I probing it correctly? I think I might have found where I need to get power from for this stereo. Why is that not? Maybe the fuse is blown for that. Yeah, that seems to just be a fuse issue. I didn't think this was gonna be like difficult. So I guess what I'll have to do now is just look at more wiring diagrams for the dash, figure out where to get switched power off of the ignition. So I really can't think of any other accessories to get that from, unless I just wire a switch of my own. So yeah, this is great. All right, so I learned that you do in fact need a interface for these. So even though the stereo has no features at all and you only have 2 speakers, you have to buy a $72 wiring harness to put an aftermarket stereo in these vans. It's the Scosche GM3000 SWF. I'm gonna get it on Amazon along with all my tires tomorrow when I get paid. So I just butt connected these 2 wires back on, and the little green wire, which is said GM like CAN data wire or whatever, is for the interface. Same with the dimmer wire. So even though we have 2 speakers and no features whatsoever, you need that wiring harness to install an aftermarket stereo. So I have a $100 stereo and I now have $100 in installation accessories for it. So what I'm gonna do, because my dash is all tore apart, is run my microphone, get that installed, and then debate whether or not I wanna mess with the backup camera. But this thing is gonna go right up here on the B pillar. And I already kind of popped it off so I can run the wire. Really nothing to it. Just decide how I'm gonna snake the wire down through here. I just need to get this from here over to where the stereo goes. It is fun figuring all of this out though. I'm happy that I'm doing this and it'll be just fine. So no big deal. There is actually one Walmart location in town that sells that or has that in stock. But I am broke. Tomorrow is payday, so I'll just get it on Amazon along with $1,200 worth of tires. No big deal. I am gonna just go ahead and put the aftermarket stereo in. I haven't even really used the factory stereo like at all since I've had this van. I mean, I turned it on to see if it works. The speakers sound pretty good actually, for just being a couple of, I would assume, 6.5s. So this guy, you have some options. You've either got stick-on mount or you've got clippy-doos. And I think stick-on mount looks better, so I'm gonna do that first, and then if it comes off, I'll save the clippy-doos in like my glove box and do that then. So need a little bit of alcohol to clean that with real quick. So in retrospect, or in hindsight, instead of going through all the trouble I just went through figuring all of this out on my own, I could have like went to Best Buy or something and, you know. All right, we've got microphone right there. Got the wire ran over here. Now we got to get it from here to stereo location. which we've got a whole lot of in the way going on. The aluminum of the van itself. So we're gonna go in where the vent is. I've got it, just barely. Pretty impressed that this whole dash structure is made out of aluminum. It's plastic on most vehicles. Okay. And voila, we got microphoneage, and I do not need the adapter. Sweet. All right, that's done. Grab the antenna adapter, and I'll just stick this in here for now, and then I will pick up with you guys when I get this kit, and then we'll get that installed, test it out. So I just wanted to show you guys for your own entertainment what it's like to not buy the right stuff from the get-go and figure out the hard way that you need an interface to put a stereo in one of these vans. I figured it wouldn't be as complicated as that, because again, this van has 2 speakers and it doesn't even have power windows or locks or anything. It's like very utilitarian. But I did figure out, because I just kind of stuck this in the dash and left my stock stereo unhooked. It's a week later, by the way. And you don't get any like turn signal noise anymore. And there's no like chime or ding or anything from the dash. So like all the noises go through the stereo. So here I've got the Scosh, which says right on it, GMC Savannah 2008 to 24. So yeah, hopefully that's the right part. And you can pretty much just go to Walmart and buy this. I did figure out that, yeah, they sell this at Walmart, so, but it's not available at all locations. There was only one in town that had it, so I just ordered it online because I had other stuff to do to the van. So yeah, here it is, and all that figuring out what wire goes to what, totally unnecessary. So this right here is the connector, and then you know, you wire it in like you would any other stereo. And then this little guy has a tiny little speaker in it, and I guess that's where your ding and your turn signal noise will come from now on. Also, I figured out that where I put this microphone is not a good place, because when I put the visor down, it crashes into it. So I'm gonna just go ahead and move it like either down here or outboard of that, like over on the left side of this A-pillar. You could put these anywhere. I just always kind of like to put them up top, but I mean, down here on the dash somewhere would work as well. Even up here above where you sit, just somewhere where a microphone would pick up your voice as you're driving. So I'm gonna tear my dash apart again, and you know, they definitely put the steering column on after they put this dash in, because without a tilt wheel, it is not easy to get the dash apart. I just spent 15 minutes cleaning up my workbench. That's like the best it's looked in a year. So again, if you don't want to solder, you can just get butt connectors. There's nothing wrong with that at all. I'm going to solder and do heat shrink. Start by cutting a bunch of like 1-inch pieces of this 3/16 heat shrink tubing. You can buy this stuff at like any hardware store. Just go to the electrical tools section. And I usually get 3/16 and 1/4. 'Cause that's just kind of the most common what you're going to be using anyway. You always slide it on over the wire before you solder, obviously. It's one of those mistakes you only make once. It's real funny when you're doing it with, like, you're flaring your brake line and forgot to put the fitting on first, or you're soldering some copper pipe and forgot to put something on first. So what's funny is I'm gonna solder, or I'm gonna connect all of these, but only like half of them are gonna be used because the van only has front speakers. But we'll just do it all just for fun, you know. Why not? Professional. I did consider like getting all creative and putting speakers in the headliner, like behind the doors, just to make the van have a nice stereo. But the thing is, I don't want to spend my whole life building this van. I just want to get it done, get the heck out of here. So that's kind of the idea. And then these are already pre-stripped. You just pull the ends off like that on both the stereo side and the connector from Scosche. There's other brands too, by the way, not just Scosche. That's just what I use. But I saw there was one called like Metra or something that seems to be just as popular. So, but it is kind of, especially on Amazon, it's kind of like not super apparent what's gonna fit your vehicle or not. And really the go-to place to get stuff to install a stereo in your vehicle is probably Best Buy. That's kind of, they really tapped into that market, you know. And you can just get your stereo or alarm installed at Best Buy, but you know, you pay for it. So if you want to burn a couple $100 to not have to do things like this yourself, then that's an option, you know. I would never, but I've been letting this soldering iron heat up. This is cool. It's a Popular Mechanics little soldering iron, 30 watt. I figured it'd be fun to use this instead of the old Harbor Freight soldering gun. But I am gonna go clean the tip now that it's hot. Gotta just kind of brush it clean. Steel wool is the way to go for that, but I don't know where mine is. Like new. Okay. So I just like to start with the power, and this is pretty simple. You just match up the colors. So we'll start with positive switched or constant positive power, which is yellow. And what I do is I make an X and then I fold the wings over each other. So you end up with like that, you know. And then I heat that up and flow solder over it. It's pretty easy. And that's a good way to do like a straight connection, like what you would be doing with the butt connector, basically. And then you can buy solder in all different like sizes. I haven't bought solder in 20 years. I've just been using whatever I got laying around, which is pretty, it goes a long way, especially if you're not doing this every day. And I always let it sit on the wire for a while, because you got to get the wire warm. Maybe 10 seconds of holding it on the wire. Then you touch the solder to the iron and it'll get to melting. And then you move your solder up to the wire and it'll begin to flow. If you wait till the wire's hot enough for you to touch the solder to the wire to get it to flow, then you usually get it too hot and you end up cooking your insulation and stuff. So there's it's just like that. You just flow the solder over it, and then as it cools, it permanently holds the wires together and creates a good solid connection. And there's limits on how thick of a wire you can solder, at least with an iron and regular like electrical solder. So like battery terminals, you don't solder those, you just cold crimp them. Because like you would need like a blowtorch to do that. At that point, it's not making the connection any stronger. So I learned how to do this when I was like freaking 12 or something. Just playing around with stuff, you know. But practice is all you gotta do to get good at it. Just practice. And I'm not declaring that I'm good at this either. I just, you know, I figured it out. I would say 12 gauge is probably the maximum size that you can solder before it starts to just, like if you try to solder too much wire together, it just turns into a mess. You end up, like, it won't flow over that much copper. You got to get it like super friggin' hot for that to happen. So now we've done all of this connector, so what I'll do is slide all of the heat shrinks over it and then shrink them all at the same time. I'm really hoping my heat gun stays alive till I'm done with this build. I'm almost there. When I was peeling all the decals off the van, I dropped that thing off the ladder like 10 times, and she kind of loud now. I mean, I'll buy another one if you can get these for like 30 bucks, but with heat shrink, it's very easy to hold it in the same place too long and start to like burn and blister the coating. So just kind of watch as you go and move it around as needed. But you want to get it from all sides so it shrinks, you know, fully. 2 of each color, 1 has a stripe. And I believe the one with the stripe is the positive for each speaker. I think that's how that works. Or the negative, one or the other. So negative is the one with the black stripe on it. So if you've ever wired up a speaker, you know the positive goes to the coil and the negative goes to the other side of the coil that attaches to the cone. The trick is to use just enough solder too. You can like way overdo it and have a big old like blob in the middle. And if you mess up, you can get it hot again and flow it. And there's also ways to remove solder. I have two contraptions for two tools for that. So I don't have it with me here at the shop, it's actually at the house, but you can get desoldering braid, which is just a copper strip or a tape. So you heat your connection up, and then you kind of wipe that copper over it while it's still hot and melted, and the solder will transfer to that copper braid, so you can desolder stuff. I also have this tool. It's basically a plunger. You press down and you get your solder hot, and you put this up against it and go like that, and it will suck the solder into this chamber here. The only time you really want to desolder stuff is if you're dealing with like a circuit board and you want to remove a component from it. Because with the wire, you just snip the wire and start over, you know. I have a like really nice soldering iron that you control the temperature on and everything, and it's got a base with a little cleaning thing for the tip and all that, but I keep that at the house. I kind of have like a little work on computers setup. All right, so we're just working our way through the colors. Repeat the process till I have all the wires done, and I'll show you when it's done. All right, hook this up. Yeah, I did all that nice soldering, but I have butt connectors right here. They are heat shrinkable, so I should do that, but how does this work? Uh-oh. Oh, duh. This has two connections on it. That confused me for a second there. Okay. Yeah, this is key 1, key 2, ground. Yeah, I don't think I need any of this. All right, hook this up to the stereo. This antenna adapter is the right one because it works perfect. The CRAB, or crab. So now we just gotta like neatly get all these stuffed in there and figure out where I want this this guy to go, because I don't want it rattling around in my dash. So I think what I'll do, what's this? That's just part of the packaging. I might get like some sticky mounting tape for that, you know. And there's plenty of space underneath here for that. I'm gonna clean this up because it's dusty and stick this like right inside there. So one thing I keep in mind is I'm trying to eliminate all the squeaks and rattles and noises. I want the van to ride nice and quiet. So when you're driving for several hours, that stuff will drive you mad. Okay. Use up the rest of this roll of 3M mounting tape. Just put that right on the bottom of this guy. Get all of this in there. There we go. And since this is gonna just be our dinghy making, turn signal making thing now, I don't want it somewhere where I'll actually be able to hear it. It's just a tiny little speaker. So if I can, kind of like that, I'm thinking. Sure. Why not? We'll just set that there. All right. I just need to move my microphone and put the dash back together, but I think I can just go ahead and... Hey, that works. Oh, God. Ugh. Terrible song.
Tomorrow at 3 p.m.
My Three Dog Night's up next with an old-fashioned one. An old-fashioned love song is coming up.
I seen them once. Three Dog Night.
Which is
okay, it works. Success. I'm gonna put all this back together. All right, so I should have filmed me putting the dash back together because it's freaking hilarious. I honk the horn like 3 times, turn the wipers on, cuss at it, and all that. But it's all back together. So the main reason I wanted this aftermarket stereo is just so I could have Android Auto, or, you know, if you're an iPhone person, the equivalent. But maps, navigation, also Bluetooth, hands-free calling, that kind of stuff. Just all the modern features of today. So with Android Auto, you can do it with Bluetooth, but right here there's a USB, and that's the kind of the best way to do it. I also have a phone mount, a really nice one that I bought a long time ago just for this van, and I don't know where I'm going to put it, but I'm thinking up over here somewhere, and I'll be doing that. And I got the instruction manual and another remote, which I'll never use, but you know, now the van has 7 remotes. So I decided that before I do anything else with the cab, before I put carpet down and tint the windows and finish this, all of this, I'm gonna go ahead and fix the paint and body work on the cab, because I'll be making a dusty mess, sanding and grinding on it. So that's gonna be my next step, is to just actually fix the paint. I'm not gonna repaint the whole van, I decided. I'm just going to repair what's there. Again, I need to hit the road. I'm not planning on spending the rest of my life building this van. So that'll probably be the next cab related video, is me doing body work and paint correction. And then I am gonna go to the junkyard and try to find a slightly newer GMC van and get the composite headlights and the slightly nicer chrome ring grille for this thing. Or a Chevy Express. I don't really care if it says Chevy or GMC on the front, but I would like to have composite headlights. They don't perform any better than the sealed halogens, but they just look way better. You know, I think the van is kind of an ugly duckling, but so it'll be like kind of body work and then a facelift. And then I have a ton of awesome accessories for the exterior of the van that I'm excited to show you. I have that weld it together yourself off-road bumper kit, which is going to be real cool. And then down here, tons of switches and accessories. I have quick charge and power delivery USB ports for both sides. I am going to leave this one, this power adapter, because I have a DC charger for my Surface Pro, and which is going to go here. I also have my scanner radio, which I'm going to try to mount to the dash, maybe right here or something. And then my buddy Tom has a ham radio that I might be installing as well. And one thing I was going to do to the cab here is build like some sort of center console, like a little shelf thing with storage and a place to put stuff, kind of make the cab more driver centric and functional. But one thing I really need to keep in mind is I have to be able to remove this doghouse at any point easily. So whatever I do build in here, and I will build something, has to be easily removable. And I've been thinking about that lately. And what I think I'm going to do is utilize the passenger seat mounting locations to make something that I can just easily unbolt, maybe even put some wing nuts on it. Those are metric and weird, so I'll probably just knock those studs out and replace them with a standard size thread. But all that's coming up soon. I'm going to get some carpet for this cab, some carpet pad. I already picked out the carpet pad that I'm going to get, which is sold locally, kinda like an hour away from me, and I'm going to make a whole video of me purchasing that carpet pad because the place that I'll be getting it from is the Speed Shop and has a cool museum. So that'll be kind of an awesome maybe Wednesday video for you guys, a little like basically a hot rod museum. And then I will be doing body work. So the cab is going to be, the inside of the cab is now going to be at least 2, maybe 3 videos, but it's a lot of cool stuff I want to show you, and I'm excited to do to the van. This is kind of the final piece of the puzzle for as far as the interior goes. And I still need to run some conduit from here back to my power system because I'm running a circuit for the fridge, a circuit for these accessories here, and my DC to DC charger. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.